My girlfriend gave my dogs away because of her allergy and now expects us to carry on like nothing happened. I'm tired of reading comments calling me a monster, of watching her paint herself as a helpless victim crushed by my selfishness. Her post went viral. Thousands of people repeating that I was cruel, that how could I force her to live with my dogs knowing she was allergic. But that's not the truth. This is my story. When I met her, I knew she was different. She had this mix of fragility and strength that hooked me from day one. It was in a photography course. I remember she asked me how to frame a sunset without making it look cliché. From then on, everything moved fast. Dates, endless messages, laughing until we fell asleep. 6 months in, she was the one who said, "What if I move in with you?" I reminded her I had 2 dogs who were part of my life. Rocky, a lab I adopted after my father died, and Cora, a golden I rescued from the street while she was pregnant. To me, they weren't pets. They were part of my story, my refuge. She knew she had allergies. She told me, and I didn't brush it off. On the contrary, I paid for her allergist, covered the meds, bought 3 high-end air purifiers, changed furniture, rugs, hired deep cleanings every week. I even suggested hiring a lady to handle everything for her. And you know what she answered? "I'd rather do it myself. I don't want to feel like a guest." And I, naive, thought it was a gesture of love. The first days were good. She laughed when Rocky tried to squeeze under the table. She got excited at Cora's slow movements. But soon the itching, the sneezing, the coughing started to hit her. One night we had to go to the hospital. A respiratory crisis. I'll never forget seeing her on that gurney with purple lips and tears in her eyes. It broke me. And what did I do? Did I blame her? Ask her to leave? No. I cleaned the whole house again, cranked the purifiers to max, had the dogs sleep in the living room, washed every cushion, every curtain. I called the doctor, bought inhalers, antihistamines, special masks, and I kept paying for everything because I loved her, because I wanted it to work. But things didn't improve. She grew more irritable. A single hair on the sofa became a fight. A walk with Rocky turned into abandonment. Every time I petted Cora, she twisted her mouth. She'd say things like, "It seems like you love her more than me." And even though I tried to explain that love doesn't compete, that Cora was pregnant and needed care, every day I felt like she was asking me to choose. I remember one night in particular. I came home tired from work and she was cooking with watery eyes. I went to greet her, but Cora got to me first and pressed against my legs. I petted her and said, "Almost there, Queen, not long until you have your babies." And I noticed my girlfriend froze. She didn't look at me, didn't greet me. She just turned off the burner and went straight to shower. That's when I felt it. The fracture, that invisible crack that starts as an annoyance and ends up becoming resentment. But I still kept trying, because loving, to me, isn't giving up at the first storm. I didn't know what it felt like to have allergies like that, but I did know what it was to be left alone, and I didn't want to lose her. The day before everything broke, I had to travel for work to Medellin. I told her it would be just 3 days, that I'd be back soon. I asked her to take care, take her pills. I left the vet's contact, the cleaning lady's number. I left prepared meals. I said, "Hang in a little longer. When I'm back, we'll see how to adjust things better." She hugged me, kissed my forehead, said, "Don't worry, everything will be fine." And I left without imagining I'd just left my world in the hands of someone who had already decided to make it disappear. I didn't leave calmly. Not entirely. Before getting on the plane, I triple-checked that everything was clean, purifiers on, bedroom doors closed. I left her a sheet with instructions, phone numbers, emergencies. I even marked exact doses for her treatment. She hugged me at the door. "I trust you," she said. And I believed her. The trip was short but intense. Meetings, stress, fatigue. Every so often I texted, "How are you? Sleeping okay? Have the symptoms improved?" She replied little. Briefly, sometimes just with emojis, but I didn't panic. She was always like that when she was upset. On the 3rd day, I called in the afternoon. She answered in a low voice. "All good. And the dogs?" Also, I didn't ask more. I felt relieved. I thought maybe we'd finally found some balance. That maybe with a bit of distance, she'd understand this wasn't a battle between her and my dogs. I got back at dusk. I walked into the apartment exhausted, wanting to see her. I thought of hugging her, apologizing if she'd felt alone. But the first thing I did was call out, "Where are my chunks?" She looked at me from the kitchen, forcing a smile. "I think they're on the balcony." I opened the door. Nothing. No Rocky, no Cora. I stepped into the hallway. Nothing. I went downstairs, walked a block, came back with my heart pounding in my temples. "They're not here. Did you leave the door open?" She swallowed. "Maybe. I don't know." I slept for a while, and when I woke up they were gone. That was it. Not a tear, not a drop of desperation, just a forced calm. And then I knew. Something was wrong. Rocky never strayed from me. He was territorial. He was afraid of cars. And Cora was pregnant. She could barely walk. Still, I swallowed the doubt. Did you go look for them? Yes, of course. I walked the neighborhood. I put up posts. She showed me a social post with no comments, no engagement, very recent. Too recent. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. I grabbed my backpack, my keys, and left. I started taping flyers, asking in shops, talking to neighbors. I emailed vet clinics, posted in groups. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I did more of the same. I walked streets I'd never stepped on. I cried on a corner when a lady told me she'd seen a golden, but it was another one. I came home with trembling hands and destroyed feet. She was in pajamas drinking tea. Any news? Nothing, I said, and I went straight to the bathroom so she wouldn't see me cry again. In that closed space, I looked in the mirror and saw someone I didn't recognize. I looked like a father searching for his children, because that's what they were. My family. And yet there I was, emotionally crawling, while she kept the same neutral expression, no anxiety, no dark circles, no trace of tears. That night, I tried to sleep on the couch, still clinging to the faint hope of hearing scratching at the door, feeling their steps, that this was all a nightmare. But the silence was thick, and her indifference louder than any absent bark. On the third day, I went to the municipal shelter, then to 2 clinics. I offered a reward. I posted stories. My phone wouldn't stop ringing, but none of the calls were the one I hoped for. When I got back, she was sweeping. Soft music. Scented candle, like she could finally breathe. And then another thought hit me. What if that's what she wanted? What if her peace came from their absence? What if it had been intentional? I confronted her. Asked if she'd checked the cameras. She said no. I asked to check together. She refused. I asked if she'd gotten any strange calls. She said it was paranoia. And then I felt it. The emptiness had no proof, only intuition. But something in me broke. We slept in separate rooms. I dreamed of Cora whimpering in some alley, of Rocky hungry, waiting at a door that never opens. I woke up with a sentence in my head. If this isn't betrayal, then I don't know what is. By day 4, I had no nails left to bite. My hands were marked from holding signs, my eyes red from reading false leads that dissolved in seconds. I didn't sleep, didn't eat, I only thought of them. In one of those sleepless dawns, I opened the drawer where we kept Rocky's leashes and Cora's brush. They were there, clean, and I knew they hadn't escaped. No one in the neighborhood had seen them. The building's cameras showed nothing. The vets had no reports. And the patio gate, according to the concierge, had been closed all day. I went back home with shaking bones. She was drinking coffee, silk pajamas, freshly painted nails, like nothing, like my 4 days of hell had happened in another universe. I sat in front of her. I didn't want to shout or cry, just one honest word. I asked, "Where are they?" She went quiet. 1 second. 2. She held my gaze, then lowered hers. "They didn't escape," she said softly. "What?" "I gave them to a shelter." The silence that followed was worse than any scream. "What are you saying?" My voice sounded weaker than I expected. I couldn't take it anymore, Julian. I was suffocating. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Everything hurt. I heard her, but it was like she was talking to me through glass. The words arrived slow, distorted. She went on. "You left, and that same night I knew I couldn't go on. I put them in the car, took them to the shelter. I lied. They weren't mine, that their owner had left them." Cora, pregnant. Yes. They took her anyway. I said she was calm, vaccinated. I stood up. I paced like a caged animal. I couldn't even look at her. "And all this time you pretended, cried with me, knowing it was a lie. I didn't want to hurt you." That phrase was a knife. You didn't want to hurt me. So what was this? A favor? Blessed exposure therapy. She defended herself. I suffered too, Julian. Every night was a nightmare. I was drowning in my own house. And you only talked to Cora. You petted Rocky like I was part of the background. Because they were my family, I shouted. My jaw trembled. And me? What was I? She wanted to respond. But I realized something then. There wasn't room for everyone. For her, for Rocky, for Cora, for me, and she solved it alone. By eliminating the others. "They were just dogs," she whispered. That phrase shattered me. I sat on the floor, drained. I saw myself crying like a kid. And there she was, standing, arms crossed over herself, staring at the ground. Rocky saved me when I lost my dad. The only thing that got me out of bed was taking him for walks. Cora showed up when I was alone. No one wanted her, and she chose me. Now I have neither. She tried to come closer. I pushed her away. "You left for 3 days. Just 3. And you took everything good from me." I grabbed my jacket and left. I didn't know where to go. I only knew that if I stayed, I'd finish breaking inside. I slept at a friend's that night. I didn't talk. I didn't eat. I just lay on the couch with eyes open. I thought of Rocky running in some park I don't know, of Cora panting, alone, giving birth in a cage. And I repeated the same thing. They weren't taken, they were given away like they were nothing. Like I was nothing. I went back to the apartment 3 days later. Not because I wanted to, but because I needed answers. Closure, something. I tried to sleep on my friend's sofa, but all I did was stare at the ceiling, imagining Rocky barking from behind a fence, or Cora with her swollen belly, whimpering in some shelter. When I opened the door, she was at the table with her laptop and tea. She looked calm, too calm. She didn't greet me, just lifted her eyes. "Are you staying?" I didn't answer. I put my keys on the table, walked to the kitchen, poured water. My mouth felt like paper. "You left," she said, as if she needed to name it. "And what did you expect? That I'd hug you after what you did?" She kept quiet. Then I let it out. "Where are they?" "I told you. I took them to a shelter." "Which one? Do you have the name? The address? Did you contact them after?" She shrugged. "I don't remember. I looked for one nearby. I don't have the number anymore." I felt my blood boil. "Do you realize what you did? Cora was pregnant. Rocky wouldn't eat unless I talked to him. And you just gave them away like trash. Don't talk to me like that. I suffered too. I was sick. You put them above everything. Because they were my family," I yelled. "Because they were with me when there was no one. Because you knew who I was from the beginning." She looked at me with glassy eyes, but didn't lower her voice. "And you knew I was allergic. Did you know I fainted because I couldn't breathe? But you went on acting like love is holding out until you drown. I tried everything. I paid for your treatment. I cleaned. I adapted the home. I offered help. What else did you want? That I kill them? I didn't kill them. I gave them away because I couldn't take it anymore." "You couldn't take it anymore. But you could lie to me. You could watch me cry as I put up flyers. You could hug me while I searched like an idiot." She broke. She cried with trembling shoulders. But I didn't care because I was broken too. Only mine wouldn't heal with a nap and hot tea. "You know what hurts?" I said, voice low. "Not that you gave them away, but that you didn't give me a choice. You took something from me without asking. You betrayed me." She looked at me, then said what marked the end. "Because they were just dogs, Julian." That scream left me in shock. And then silence. That damn silence that weighs more than any argument. "Thank you," I said. "For what?" she sobbed. "For making it clear you never understood anything." I stood up, went to the closet, threw my things in a suitcase. I didn't care what I left behind. I couldn't stay another minute. "Where are you going?" "Anywhere it doesn't hurt to breathe." She tried to hug me. I pushed her away. "Don't touch me. Julian, please. You know what's worst?" I said, looking at the rug where Rocky used to sleep. "That now I can leave this apartment without saying goodbye, because there's no one left who cares if I come back or not." I walked out, and for the first time in years didn't look back. I never set foot in that apartment again, not even to pick up what I left. My friend got my things a week later. He told me she cried in the kitchen, barely ate. I didn't care. Some things can't be fixed with late tears. What she did wasn't a mistake. It was a cold, premeditated decision, covered with a lie. 2 weeks passed. I still knew nothing about Rocky or Cora. I searched every shelter in the city, but none had records under their names. She'd lied about that too. She registered them under false names. One day, while trying to sleep, if you can call closing your eyes and waiting for dawn sleep, I got a notification, an email from a lawyer. Subject: preliminary evaluation of emotional damages and loss of affective property. My best friend had insisted for days that I take legal action. "It's not revenge," he said. "It's dignity." So I agreed. I hired a civil attorney specialized in emotional cases. I told him everything, with documents, chats, proof of treatment, even camera footage showing they never escaped. And most importantly, I had proof she acted alone, without my consent, and that she lied about ownership. Legally, they were mine. And yes, animals can be considered affective property under the law. The lawsuit was straightforward: emotional damage, loss of affective property, and harm by deliberate omission. During the investigation, my lawyer found the shelter. It wasn't easy. She'd used a fake identity, false address, even a different contact number. But they traced the data by date and matches, and there they were. Rocky, Cora, and the worst, they were no longer alive. The woman at the shelter was kind but blunt. The adult lab died from an untreated heart condition. We didn't know he had a medical history. The golden gave birth, but escaped during a storm. She was run over 2 days later. I went silent. I didn't know whether to scream, cry, or smash my phone. My lawyer looked at me and only said, "One pup survived, the youngest. A young woman adopted her recently." I didn't move for nearly an hour. I couldn't think. I failed Rocky. I failed Cora. I never left them alone, and at the end I wasn't there. But there was still one left. The suit went on. My ex responded with evasions. that it was for health, that the dogs made her sick, that she acted under pressure. But the judge didn't buy her narrative. The evidence was clear. She lied, concealed, made decisions without consent. The ruling was in my favor: financial compensation for emotional damage and indemnity for effective loss. It didn't make me happy, but at least for the first time someone told me firmly, "You were right. What was done to you was wrong." With part of that compensation, I decided to find the pup. I got the name of the woman who adopted her, a single mother with a young daughter. I wrote to them. I was direct. "I don't want to take anything from you, just to know if she's okay." They replied 2 days later. "We call her Star. She's healthy. My daughter adores her." I asked to see her, not to argue or negotiate, just to meet her. The mother hesitated, but finally agreed. She set a meeting in a park where her daughter likes to play. When I arrived, Star was running on the grass. She was identical to Cora, the same golden coat, the same tail wag. And when I approached, she sniffed me, licked my hand, like she knew who I was. The girl hugged me. "Are you my mommy's friend?" I couldn't help crying. I spoke with the mother. I told her the story, not all, just enough. I said I was willing to buy her, to pay whatever she asked. She looked at me seriously. "My daughter loves her. She's part of this family. She's not for sale." Then she added, "But we can do something better." She offered to let me see her once a week, to play with her, join them at the park, to be part of her life. And I agreed, because in the middle of all this disaster, there was still something I could save. For weeks, every Sunday at 4 sharp, I became a visitor. I wasn't a father. I wasn't an owner. I was just a man with a broken heart trying to make peace with what little remained. They called her Star, but to me, she soon became Luna. She ran to me as soon as she saw me at the park. She jumped, licked my hands, flopped on her back like Cora used to, and I unraveled inside. At first, the girl got jealous. She'd pull Luna from my arms, saying, "She's mine. Don't take her." I'd smile and pat her hair. "I know, little one. It's just that she reminds me of someone I loved very much." The mother, Mariana, was patient. She never asked too much, never judged. She just let me be, and that was enough. One day, I dared to ask, "Can she stay with me for a weekend?" Mariana hesitated, but the girl jumped. "Yes, Mommy." We drafted a small agreement. Nothing legal, just written trust. Luna slept with me that Saturday. I set up a little bed by mine, like I did with Cora, but by dawn I found her on my chest, panting softly. I cried in silence, not from pain, but from relief. I couldn't bring Rocky back. I couldn't give Cora her delivery, her dignity. But I could love again, this time without conditions. The next week, I met with Mariana. I took out an envelope and said, "I don't want to buy her. I know she's part of your family, but I want to offer you something. This money is part of the compensation I received. Use it for whatever you need. And if things ever change, if you feel Luna would be better with me, my doors are open." She accepted, not for the money, but for what it meant. A fair closure. That night I sat in front of the old frame with a photo of Rocky at the beach. I talked to it like a fool. "I failed you, buddy. I know. But Luna is here, and I promise to do things right." I started therapy, not from weakness, but out of respect for what I'd lost. I moved apartments. I put photos of Cora and Rocky by the entrance, not to remember the pain, but to thank the love. Because even if she gave them away like furniture, I love them like family. I cut social media to a minimum. I got tired of reading insults from strangers who only heard one version, calling me selfish, dramatic, the guy who preferred dogs to his girlfriend. I never answered. Pain doesn't need to be explained to those who haven't lived it. Luna keeps growing. She runs like her mother, dives into water like Rocky. Sometimes she does things that make me laugh just because they hurt, and in those laughs I'm healing too. Not long ago, Mariana told me she was planning to move to another city. She told me with sadness, "I know it hurts, but I also feel like you two need to be together." We signed the papers. Official adoption. Luna is mine. The day they left, the girl hugged me and said, "Take care of her like she's a treasure." And I promised I would. Now Luna sleeps on my bed, eats at my feet, waits for me at the door. She doesn't replace anything. She doesn't erase the past. But she reminds me that true love doesn't disappear. It transforms. I never spoke to my ex again. I got emails from her lawyer. Empty messages. Requests to fix everything. I never responded. There was nothing to fix. She made her choice, and I made mine. Today, when I walk Luna in the park and someone smiles watching her run, I feel something I thought I'd lost: peace. And every time I look into her eyes, I repeat what used to be a lament and is now my firmest truth. They weren't just dogs. They were my family, and there's still a part of them that walks with me.